Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading session. Hang on one second here while I get you my monitor. Okay, so the market's just opened up, and you can see here from the Eagle that it was a pretty quiet session in the overnight. Not a whole lot going on. We topped out here yesterday, and the London session hit those same highs. Now we're seeing a little bit of a reaction. We actually have a rule of three type setup here on the Eagle. If you wanted to try to get a little bit more aggressive on this, I know I'm certainly more bearish on the NQ. That's probably because I'm also bearish on it from a daily perspective. But this whole rule of three setup, you can see in this case, we really just have two signals against the band, but we did have that all-important test of the extreme. So sometimes these rule of three trades will only be two signals. Sometimes there'll be three, that's the norm, and then sometimes we'll even see four or occasionally five, but that's pretty rare. By that time, the band has usually already turned over. So technically, our rule of three signal came right here at our entry point, so that was convenient. And we'll see now whether we get any follow through to the downside on this trade. We also had a first micro-macro cross and a trend change signal, and a trend change signal on the Raptor also, so a little bit of confluence there across the markets. And the hawk back into yellow bars now. We should see it head a little bit lower though, because these first micro-macro cross signals, they're so reliable, right? We did see one fail yesterday, but I don't believe that one hit our profit objective. No, it did get close enough to get the trade to break even, however. Working on a macro pullback, but we keep tossing in these yellow bars, so that's a little problematic. A lot of support around this 44, 41, 44, 40 area right down here also. So hopefully we don't see the market pivot there. Crude oil a little bit bullish, I was going to say, waffling a little bit. Waffling a little bit more than usual. So here's crude oil in the overnight. You can see that came down, hit the primary support, came up, hit the primary resistance, came right back down here to the median line where they're kind of stuck at the moment. All right, getting another chance here on the Raptor. This actually could be interpreted as a double pullback signal. And what I'll do is we'll just short it right from there. My first profit target's a little bit earlier than I normally like. Oh, shoot, I thought I had a runner on there. Ah, darn it. Well, that's all right. I got it set up properly now. Looks like we're going to hit our profit objective on the eagle here as well, and there is room for this market to head lower from here. Next stop probably around this whole 44, 24, 25 area. Good morning, Jim. Jim shooting us some advanced decline numbers here. So we've got just over 1,000 on the buy and just over 1,500 on the sell. So a slightly bearish flavor today. Negative 500. That's, when you're looking at something like advanced decline, you'd like to see the market start with a relatively even balance and then build from there. So a negative 500, that's a pretty good start for the sellers. They can work with that. Okay, come on now, get down there. You know you want to. Oh my goodness, they're just waffling. I'm trying to be patient with this trade because I'm pretty sure it's going to want to head lower. And I'm fairly confident my stops are far enough away to ride out any pullback. But the way this bar is behaving, if I were smart, I'd either just grab the profit or at the very least I'd throw my stop in above the high. Look at that, they're only a couple of ticks away from our profit target. Get down there. Come on. It's a couple of ticks. Here you go. There you go. All right. Oh, just kissed it. I thought they were going to give it to us for a second. Okay, well now I'm not. Oops. There we go. Not going to give them any more than that. Come on. Oh, man. What a tug of war. This is a very important bar. Look at all this activity that's going on around this 4432 area. Let's see what's going on the Geiger counter. Oh, and no wonder we're right here at our secondary support line. So a lot of selling going on. I don't know if the sellers, no, they weren't able to force it below 44.32. Isn't that something? Wow, that's an odd number for the market to dig in at, but they did. We'll see now whether or not this was a good decision, how far the market will retrace, if it in fact retraces. I just did not feel like offering up too much of my open profit. It ain't profit until you bank it. One, two, three. Oh, our 4-arrow consolidation pattern this time was only a 3-arrow consolidation, unless I suppose you started counting from over here. Remember, when you're looking at your consolidation patterns, they typically have this type of shape or this type of shape. So this one, nearly textbook, except for the fact that normally we see it signal at least one more time during that pullback. See, even though this one had no follow through, well, you didn't get that fourth signal, but it still had that consolidation type pattern. And in an uptrend, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth arrow also came on the red bar pullback, or the red bar buy, pardon me, and away it goes. The ones that are angled like this do tend to be stronger. Oh, here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the market advances. The 4-arrow consolidation is such a reliable pattern, I will take it off of yellow bars. That's the only hawk pattern that I will trade on a yellow bar. All right, well, that was a nice way to start the day with a fairly good running trade. We'll see where they want to go from here. We are getting a macro pullback signal here in the hawk. Problem I'm having with this particular signal is where to cover the position. Right? Ideally, we'd like to keep it close like this so that we get 3 contracts in there. But that's a little bit cozy. If the market retreats even a little bit, we have no staying power. A lot of times I'll look at swing highs or even where the macro line seems to crest. So if we risk it there, we could still get in with 1, and it's just about to our profit objective. Would have at least hit our break-even trigger. Oh, and there we would have just been stopped at break-even. So this one too may be setting up to be a 4-arrow consolidation. Coming in with yet another macro pullback signal. as the market looks for sellers. Oh, well done. Jim picking up a few ticks. He says he went long at 56. This is on the YM, no doubt, and out at 70. So nice little hit and run. The secondary support line here seems to be adding or lending some support to the market, at least short term. I think we're going to see a little bit of choppiness here until the sellers decide to try to press again, after which we will know whether or not they're really going to maintain control of the market. So we might have to be a little bit patient here, but it does appear as though, well, unless the market recovers and gets back above, this area where it began the day, somewhere around 44.49, 44.50. Right now, it does appear to be a seller's market. Working on a green bar sell. Now, these, as we know, tend to be less reliable because they do develop near the end of a trend. It's kind of like your last ditch effort on the part of the sellers. Now it keeps going from a green bar sell back into yellow bars. And I don't want to trade the yellow bar unless it happens to be a 4-arrow consolidation, which this is not. Well, I suppose if you wanted, you could count this one, even though this one didn't trip and become an arrow. And the thing with the green bar sell, of course, is very often it becomes a first micro macro cross higher. And there we go. It has now attempted to become a first micro macro cross. Not there yet. Our macro line still gray. And we're into the hard edge here on our Raptor and Eagle. So we could anticipate some sort of reaction there. Back into the primary support also on the hawk. Advanced decline numbers now almost even up. 1286 on the buy, 1380 on the sell. Oh, and thanks, Jim. He just freshened those numbers. Almost 1370 on the buy and about 1310 on the sell. So the buyers appear to be getting a little bit stronger. Tim's also watching the Russell. He says it's quite strong right now here on the NQ. It's struggling a little bit more. Okay, so we're actually getting a first micro-macro cross signal. It hasn't tripped just yet. I had a successful trade to the short side, so I am going to favor the sellers over the buyers. You know, if I've had a trade that pays off in one direction, I'm going to favor that way rather than flip-flopping, going from a seller to a buyer to a seller to a buyer. That's not to say that this first micro-macro cross signal here won't reach its profit objective. Rather that if the market settles into a direction, it's going to tend to stay with that direction until proven otherwise. So we'll see here in a moment if they can muster enough to get to what our profit objective would have been there. Okay, so here comes the Raptor now with a possible hard edge bounce. We're also back on the primary support line here in the Falcon. And just for kicks, let's shoot a trend line across the tops here. Oh, not quite there yet. And we're almost to the top of the hour. So I think we're more or less in the middle of where we started the day. Alright, so that first micro-macro cross still struggling. Again, not to say it's not going to reach the target. A lot of times in these types of situations, we do see the first micro-macro cross retreat a little bit and flounder and then perhaps go higher, hit the target before we get the eventual reversal. Just that it's not as appealing a first macro cross as we normally would see. Oh, thanks, Phil. Phil says he's just been speaking with Stephanie. Well, be sure to tell her hi right back. I hope she's doing well. Stephanie, used to be the lady who did a lot of the initial setup and for a lot of you guys. She's since gone on, and I forget the exact what the exact designation is, but she's getting a charting degree. Yes, there is such a thing. All right, we're back at another one of these waffle points. Hey, the market just kind of flip-flopping a little bit here. It's 44.40 coming back into play. We know that's a big number. See, 44.40, see how fat the bar is here? And another fat bar. And our first micro-macro cross just hit its profit objective. So I guess that did have some follow-through to it eventually. There we go. So still a good probability trade. Good example of why you don't want to stick your stops in ultra tight, because you end up getting stopped before the market gets a chance to reach its profit target. And talk about waffling markets, take a look here at crude oil. This crude oil now on the Eagle. Do you think maybe tomorrow's report is going to have a little bit of influence? I don't think I've ever seen crude oil this quiet. You could potentially bracket the high and the low. I'm not even sure you're going to get a fill today. We're in the demo room. Why don't we? So we'll bracket the high, we'll bracket the low, and we'll see whether or not they can get out of this range. Now, when you do OCO orders, I'm not a big one for sticking the order in too tight. You don't want, it's not the kind of situation you just want to get brought in on a tick, right? You want to give yourself a little bit of room. I would not expect a screamer out of this. We know there's going to be more resistance around here, 46.40, 46.50, as we get to this little swing high. So I would be thinking you want to keep your stops handy on that one. Looks like they recovered back to the high of the session right here, hit it right on the number, and this is where the sellers ganged up on them before. Remember, that's how we got that nice little run to the downside. So we have every reason to expect the sellers to show up again. In fact, we have this little consolidation pattern that I pointed out to you earlier. So it's got an added catch. We're going to have probable support down here. Oh, 44.40 again. That's a surprise. Not really. Okay, things a real mixed bag now. Look, we're getting a cloud crossover here on the Hawk, or pardon me, the Raptor, and that tends to actually lend some support to the market. A second macro pullback here in the Hawk, that tends to show some weakness. We don't normally get more than 2 macro pullbacks within a trend. Already a green bar sell printing here on the Eagle, and the Falcon, well, it's a little bit more bullish than the other three. This is going to be a big bar for this market. So here's a green bar sell. What we normally do is we let the ATR come into sync with it. We already know the limit of this bar, however. We could take advantage of a second push on the entry. Probably keep our stops, something like that. So looking for a failure of the low at around 44.42. If I drew some trend lines across here, that's not a very good representation. Let's do this instead. It almost looks like we have a little bit of a channel going here. At the top end of the channel now, it would be a nice little move lower if we see it try to get to the bottom end of this trading range. And once again, a little bit of a conflict in the signals. We're getting a late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. I'm a little bit late for this one now. I'm not going to, well, I suppose what I could do is I could do an OCO type thing. Whichever side fills first, I cancel the other order. We know these late filter entry signals tend to be pretty reliable. Here, I'll sketch it out. It's the type of trade I would want to take right on the hash mark, so I don't have to make it work too hard. The buyer's definitely strong. Here's that cloud crossover, lending the support. So with the cloud crossover, what you're looking at is when these clouds cross over, we get the market tends to find some support there. Okay, I can cancel this order. And just shy of our target on our late filter entry, right back to the median line. And there they are, just a couple ticks shy of what our profit objective would have been. This is why I didn't want to get in too late on this trade. Because the market, did make a rather substantial move lower, I don't want to make it have to work any harder to get to my profit target. Still would have, I think we would still hit the break-even trigger, but a little bit more problematic at that point. Okay, things definitely looking a little bit more bullish again. A lot of volume waffling back and forth. Look at that. You don't often see the Geiger counter like that. Like a little bit of a roller coaster. It's unusual for October to be this subdued. Normally we see some pretty active days this time of the year. Yeah, I would agree. Jim says it's very vertical. We're not used to seeing that, are we? We usually see the market, do one of these. Go up, come down, go up, come down, go up, come down. Go down, come up, go down, come up. I don't know. Well, we'll just have to wait. We're still in swing mode and moving into scalp mode, so the trade forecaster quite accurate regarding today's session. Back near the overnight highs, back to the median line. Would not surprise me to see a move lower here. Crude oil on the Eagle did break the top end of the range and now is laboring a little bit. And yes, I probably should be in the December contract, but I'll have to ride this one out and then I'll change it. Okay, so a lot of activity here. You see these two bars right here? A lot of buying and selling going on near the highs. So we know there's a lot of sensitivity there. Yet another macro pullback signal. What is that? Is that our third one within this trend? 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is. We haven't seen a test of the extreme yet, so you might consider that when buying this macro pullback signal. However, I think we may see it dip a little bit lower before giving us that test of the extreme and possible failure. Wow, and look at the volume that's coming in on the macro pullback now. Craziness. Jim's also short. He says at 92. Let's take a look here at the YM. That's the mini Dow. So Jim is short from 92 down here, taking a little bit of heat on that one. Very sideways. They're just happy. The markets are happy where they are. And that seems to be the case across the board. Well, see now, I spoke too soon. We did get our macro pullback producing a test of the extreme. Now comes the subsequent failure. If, in fact, it does not take out the high here at 44.53. If it takes out the high, then all bets are off. We will see it continue to rally. In fact, the Falcon is giving us a trendline touch signal, not as strong as the macro pullback signal, but we're right back here with all this resistance. We know where the buyers are. This is difficult because, we're looking at a very small margin for error. If I enter one tick above the high and the market just happens to go up there by a tick before reversing, which is entirely possible, I'm going to find myself taking a little bit of heat. So there they go. They got up there by one tick. And let's see now if they get any follow through on that. Nope, no follow through. Engaging all these sell orders that are associated with these two bars, we should have seen the market go boom, 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 boom. But it has failed to do so. So I should probably look at something more aggressive. Yeah, we'll hold right below this little swing right there. That's all I'll give it. If it fails there, then it's probably time to pack up my toys. And if it fails on the Falcon, now again, this is not something I recommend, and in fact I should dial down the risk a little bit on this. We've had 1, 2, 3 macro pullback signals here. This is a test of the extreme, even though technically it's 1 or 2 ticks higher than this one. The principle remains the same. It is likely that a failure of the macro pullback will see prices head a little bit lower. Man. There's some serious stickiness at these prices. Look at that. My goodness, they're putting me to sleep here. Sitting in my comfy chair. All right. Well, if you're, if you're looking for a trade, oh, here they go. They're going to press the highs again. If you're looking for a trade, I was going to say you could bracket this range that we're experiencing right here. There's obvious congestion there. I don't really hold out much hope for this Falcon trade. This wasn't, I was just showing this trade, pardon me, the problems with it. Oh, it did turn into a late filter entry signal. We'll see if that actually trips. That may give us a little bit, a little extra boost. No. Okay. So, as we anticipated, we're seeing a little bit of a failure there. That late filter entry signal did not trip. Yeah, good point, Mark. I should have done that too. Mark says you should shoot some trend lines here on the Eagle, and you'll see that it's a nice little trading channel, which it is. And I was anticipating the breakdown, which is why I got a little bit more aggressive here on this macro pullback failure signal. You can see a couple tests at the extreme, maybe even a head and shoulders type formation. And now we're coming back down here to the bottom end of this trading range. And you can see what I did here on the hawk is I shot the trend line off of the first two pivots where the market made its little turn. No, don't look back. Break even. Well, it's better than a loss. right, we're gonna try to get a first micro-macro cross here, working on a trend change signal and perhaps even a trend change on the Raptor also. Can't really do much with this eagle signal yet. If you were just, to be more aggressive with it, I don't recommend this, but I do know people who will trade the red bar buy and green bar sell so long as they are in sync with the ATR. I think Mike Filigera does that, where so long as the red bar buy, green bar sell, here's a red bar buy, it's contra to the band, but it's in sync with the ATR, you would buy that. Here's a green bar sell. Now, we'll demo it. There's nothing else going on, so we might as well show it. So this signal synced with the ATR right here. It's a green bar sell. Nice thing about taking it earlier like this, of course, is it's easy to cover the trade because we know where we need to cover the position. Here's a red bar buy that was in sync with the ATR. However, it didn't have as much follow through as the second attempt. Again, a lot of times these types of trades depend very much on where you place your stop, right? Had you taken this signal here and put your stop, say, down here somewhere, you could have ridden out that swing and eventually got to your profit objective. In fact, while I'm mentioning that, maybe I'm going to try to risk it above the high here. There we go. Give me a little bit more staying power. All right, well, they've gone flat on us again. A real struggle this morning, even for our crude oil trade, which keeps waffling. And I'm going to bring it over here just before I punch out for profit, because it's just all over the map. But there was a little, oops, there was a half decent opportunity in crude this morning, and now I can roll into the December contract, and that's probably going to be a little bit more active. Yeah, December crude definitely where the volume is. Oh boy. Is this crazy or what? Here we are, heading back to the high. See what happens every time we get near these levels again. Look at how the volume starts to kick in. We get more buying, more selling. Okay, green bar sell. The nice thing about this is I can cover it right above the high, so it's not too terribly expensive. If I do get filled, I'm gonna, there we go, we're gonna cancel our orders, our profit orders, because this is only a single. We're gonna see if we can't run this one down a little bit, perhaps back here even to the 1440 area. I know that's pretty ambitious, but hey, that's how we roll. Come on, there we go. All right. Going to challenge this trend line here in a moment, and I think we're finally going to see the market recommit to its earlier attempts to head lower. Maybe. Oh, man. Oh, Jim says the advanced decline very strong, just shy of 2,000 buyers and about 900 sellers. So that's a very bullish looking advanced decline. We'll see how that plays out. Still kind of waffling here on the rest of our signals. I guess there's just nothing to spark the buyers or the sellers at this point. Slim pickings. Jim's watching the cloud here on the YM for an overbought type situation. And he says it's at 48 ticks right now, which is pretty substantial. And most of the retraces have been 16 to 18 ticks. So an opportunity there for a shorter term trade. It's very observant. Getting a little bit more volume on these bars now. And actually a buying dot, a warning dot. Is that already in sync for the first micro macro cross? Oh, it is too. So this could develop into a first micro macro cross signal. Putting some pressure on our selling attempts. The yellow bar voided that first micro macro cross. Yeah, sorry, Tony. There just hasn't been very much going on. No, the audio still works, although I'm thinking about calling it a day. There's not much happening right now. Come on. You want to break down. I know you do. We can cancel that order. We were just showing that for something to do. They're still working this this green bar sell. The highs continue to hold, which is encouraging. All right. Getting a little move lower, nothing substantial. If I readjust this trend line, I think you're going to see we're pretty close to where that trend line is going to fall. Okay, I think we're finally on our way to 44.40. All right, you guys. I think we're going to wrap up the room here. It's obviously very slow. I do give the nod to the sellers, though. I think we are going to see the market continue lower today. If we can get through this whole gunk around 44, 44, 44, 45, we should be able to see it fall at least to 44.20, or pardon me, 44.40, and after that, maybe even 44.20. So there is definitely a little bit of room to move here, but I don't think we're going to get the move until the afternoon session. So you may want to go have a quick lunch, or in my case, breakfast, and then come check on the charts again. All right, you guys, a reminder, tomorrow is Wednesday, so we're going to meet at the public trading room, and I will see you guys then. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.